is Sam, and we're going to be reviewing The Great Gatsby, which I have not seen.
And let me just say this: we've already tried recording several reviews several times on the computer, but it's been bugging up. So if I kind of stumble over words, it's because I already said some of this stuff.
You should have it down.
I should have this down, but it's because I kind of stumbled. Whatever. Let's just get into it. First off, I want to say I have not read the book, The Great Gatsby. I know it was required for most people in high school. I had my choice between In Cold Blood and The Great Gatsby, and I chose In Cold Blood. So I knew nothing about this movie going into it. It looked intriguing, but I knew nothing. And I'll go and start off with the plot. Tobey Maguire's character, I forget his name, apologize, but we start off with Tobey Maguire's character in kind of a mental asylum, and he's kind of like in the doctor's room, and he's telling the doctor, kind of flashing back on how Gatsby was this he keeps telling the doctor, Gatsby, the most interesting man, the most just like spectacular, like fantastical person he's ever met. And so it goes into flashback and his character and how he meets Gatsby and how other characters come into play, and it's a lot of internal struggle. And not only is it internal struggle, but you kind of see the corruptness of the world. And I really did like that theme of this, that it almost kind of put no one is really good, is what I got from that. But that's pretty much, I don't want to really give too much away. I'm trying a quick, more brief, but he gets an invitation to Gatsby's house for a party, and people just come to the Gatsby parties. They never get an invitation. And let me just say this, Gatsby's house is like a huge Disney castle or something. It's, something like out of like a fairy tale or thing. It's just huge. And Tobey Maguire lives right next to him in a much smaller, like kind of a normal house. And so he keeps seeing Gatsby's character, but he eventually gets an invitation. And the characters eventually form a bondship, and you eventually find out, that may be spoilers, but let's just say this, and different characters, Tobey Maguire's cousin, Carey Mulligan's character, Daisy, and her husband, forget the name, Joel Edgerton's character, get brought in. And I'll just say there's different characters, and there's different internal struggles, and there's different themes throughout the whole movie. That's all I want to say, no spoilers, and I'll leave it at that, and I'll get into the review. Great Gatsby, no pun intended, was not great, but it was good. I feel that it had a lot of ambition, but it didn't live up to it. I guess I would say with Gatsby, it was a very stylized movie. In fact, it brought in, interesting enough, it brought in modern music. Jay-Z did the soundtrack, not the score. I don't know if he did the score or because there were score pieces played throughout. That was more of like a traditional score. And then you had like Jay-Z's like a soundtrack brought into it, like different rap music.
Okay.
And I could see what he was doing with it, but I don't think it paid off completely all the time, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of yeah, it kind of sounds interesting because I think like the whole movie was what would you call it? Relishing. It was like indulgence, I guess, was almost one of the themes of this movie, and I felt like I can see how he's trying to bring in this crazy music, like jazz would have been like the lively music of back in the day, and how he's bringing in something for the modern era, even though it was based back in the 30s. I can see what he was doing. I don't think it necessarily worked all the time, but I think in certain scenes it did. In fact, in a particular scene, I thought it worked very well. It was like this, I don't know, it was like a rap kind of dubstep hybrid that was Tobey Maguire and Joel Edgerton's character kind of went to like I guess you would say, I don't know if they were necessarily prostitutes, but I'm assuming it was something along that. But they went into this house and like living up in a party kind of. It was like, and they brought in like this dubstep music, and you had like this guy in the like out in the background playing a horn. But like it was a very indulgent scene, and the music was very indulgent, and it was kind of like you just like Tobey Maguire's character said he only drank twice in his life, but that like it was just very indulgent, and you could tell like he just felt awful, but the same like just kind of it was very just like indulgent. I guess that's the only way to what I'm saying. It was very vivid. It was very, and I felt like the music captured that scene.
Yeah.
The music on the background captured that scene. And then I'll give another scene that it didn't necessarily work on. They had a big party at the first big party at Gatsby's house. It was kind of working, but at the same time, it would transition between old school, like 1930s era, or 20s, I forget, I think it was made in the 20s, 1920s era jazz music. But when you would have certain characters talking in the background, they would still be playing this, even though like that's more of the foreground soundtrack, if that makes sense, when really jazz music's playing. I know it's kind of complicated. They're really playing jazz music because it would transition, like you'd have this pumping score where you had these old school, just like regular, like trumpet.
They basically trying to do too much with the music.
Exactly. And it almost kind of got into like a continuity error with the plot. And it's like, hold on. Aren't they really playing this music? But they're talking upstairs and they're still playing. So music didn't always work. I felt like some of the themes didn't necessarily, what it was trying to say didn't necessarily get across completely. There were certain things at the very end, I was like, I can realize this, I can realize this. And I had to piece it together. And I'm not saying that's not bad because I enjoy having to piece stuff together. But I'm almost at a loss, and is that what that movie's trying to force me, or is that what's really happening, if that makes sense? But I want to say this: the acting was really, 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 really good. I really enjoyed the acting. Even though I didn't really like the character herself, I didn't like the character Daisy. Carey Mulligan was really, really. She's always good, but she was really, really good in this. DiCaprio always delivers. He was really good in this. Joel Edgerton. I didn't get to see Zero Dark 30, but I know he was in that, and he was in Warrior. He was in also an Australian movie called Animal. I didn't get to see, but I know he's really good in Warrior, and he was in the Thing remake. He was really good in that too. But he really delivered in this. He played like a dirty, just kind of bad character, but it was just like it was perfect, like the way he played it. The one character, ironically, it's not that he did a bad job. But Tobey Maguire's character, I felt compared to all these other actors, he just didn't live up. And I almost feel like, because I relate Tobey Maguire to Spider-Man. That's what I grew up with.
I mean, that's all I know at this point.
Well, I knew he played in Pleasantville, but
I saw that, and I saw Seabiscuit.
I never saw Seabiscuit.
I saw Seabiscuit, but it didn't matter because I saw Spider-Man.
And so that's kind of what I just saw, but at the same time, like, I felt he never really broke out compared to the rest of the actors. So I felt like maybe, I'm not saying that he did a bad job. He did a good job, but when you have, great acting going on and good, it's kind of a weird transition. Yeah. It's 2.5 hours, which they could have easily trimmed. They could have trimmed a good bit. This movie was really indulgent. Like I said, that's one of the main themes. It's like no one's good and really indulging. And it almost felt like it indulged in the time. The length was 2.5 hours, and you could have definitely cut some stuff from it. Maybe trimmed it down to 2 hours. There were scenes that could have been trimmed down. But all in all, I enjoyed the movie. If you're not into stylized stuff, you're not going to like this. I'm just going to throw it out. But you'll see things I haven't really seen stuff been presented in the way it was, so I really found that interesting. The 3D was pretty good. There were certain scenes that I worked better than others.
Well, what was good about it? Like, what was good about
it? I'll give this in the beginning. It built a depth. You felt like you were there. And in the beginning scene, which is, I love snow in 3D. I saw it.
Snow.
It had snow. It was in the it was filmed in the winter. In the beginning, you saw the snow. It felt like
Cool.
It seemed like it was coming out on the
Resident
floor.
Evil 3D had rain.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember the Christmas Carol the Disney Christmas, and they had snow, and they had the snow fall, and I hadn't seen that since then. So I was like, oh, that's really awesome. So I really enjoyed. The 3D was good. I felt, though, being filmed in 3D, this felt more like it was converted to 3D, ironically. I don't know if it was good enough to go ahead and jump up that ticket price. It was good to an extent, but unless you're just a 3D fanatic, I don't know if it was really worth it. But I'd give Gatsby, all in all, I'd probably go... I'll go 3+. A 3+. It doesn't reach 3.5. Yeah. So
for me, I would have to rate the if I rated the trailer, I would give it maybe a 3.
Yeah.
Because I saw it and I wasn't in a big rush to go.
Well, because like when I first came out of it, I was thinking 3.5, but now I really don't really remember too much of the story. It's more of the performances and the style as you're coming out with. So
I didn't have high expectations going into it.
Yeah, so I'd give it a 3+, but that's the review, and thanks for watching.